This woman's addictive behavior made her do the unthinkable. Behind the image of a quiet, soft-spoken Southern woman was a pattern of lies, manipulation, and deadly choices that would eventually claim multiple lives. For years, no one suspected her. She was trusted, she was pitied, and all the while, she was poisoning the people closest to her. This is the true crime story of Velma Barfield, the woman who became known as the Death Row Granny. Velma Margie Bullard was born on October 29, 1932, in rural North Carolina. Her childhood was shaped by hardship from the very beginning. She grew up in a strict, controlling household with an abusive father who ruled through fear and violence. Velma later described her father as cruel and unpredictable, a man who beat her regularly and controlled every aspect of her life. Her mother, though kind, was submissive and unable to protect her daughter from the abuse. From a young age, Velma learned to endure pain quietly. She learned to hide fear behind obedience. Those early years would shape her personality, her coping mechanisms, and eventually her capacity for deception. She dropped out of school early and married young, hoping marriage would offer an escape from her home life. Instead, it led her into another cycle of hardship. Velma married Thomas Burke at just 17 years old. The marriage was troubled almost immediately. Thomas drank heavily, was unfaithful, and often violent. Velma found herself trapped once again in a relationship where she had little control. Over the years, she gave birth to two children, a son named Ronald and a daughter named Kim. But motherhood did not bring stability. The household was marked by poverty, emotional neglect, and chaos. In 1969, Thomas Burke suddenly became ill and died. At the time, doctors believed he had suffered from natural causes. Velma was widowed at a relatively young age, and though she grieved publicly, those close to her noticed something strange. She seemed oddly detached. Still, no one suspected foul play. There was no autopsy, no investigation. Life moved on. Years later, investigators would look back at Thomas Burke's death and wonder if it had been the beginning. After her husband's death, Velma struggled financially and emotionally. She bounced between jobs, often working as a caregiver or nurse's aide. These roles gave her access to vulnerable people, and more importantly, access to medications. Over time, Velma developed a serious addiction to prescription drugs, particularly painkillers and tranquilizers. She learned how to manipulate doctors, fake symptoms, and steal medications from patients. Her addiction deepened throughout the 1970s. When she couldn't get drugs legally, she found other ways. She stole, she lied, she forged prescriptions, and when those methods failed, she turned to something far more dangerous. In 1974, Velma's mother became seriously ill. Velma took on the role of caregiver, telling friends and relatives how exhausting and overwhelming it was. Then, suddenly, her mother died. Doctors listed the cause as a heart attack. Once again, no autopsy was performed. Velma received sympathy and support. No one questioned her story. 2 years later, Velma remarried. Her second husband, Jennings Barfield, was described as kind, patient, and devoted. Unlike her first marriage, this one seemed calm and supportive. But beneath the surface, Velma's addiction continued. She stole money from Jennings, forged checks, and used household funds to feed her drug habit. In 1978, Jennings Barfield fell ill. He complained of nausea, weakness, and dizziness. Velma insisted on caring for him at home. Within days, he was dead. Doctors again ruled the death as natural causes. Velma collected life insurance money and moved on. By now, a pattern was forming, but no one could see it yet. Velma's addiction worsened. She was fired from multiple caregiving jobs for stealing medications. She was arrested for forgery and fraud, but each time, she managed to portray herself as a troubled woman who needed help rather than punishment. Judges were lenient. Employers gave second chances. Friends continued to trust her. In 1978, Velma found work caring for an elderly couple, Montgomery and Dolly Taylor. Both suffered from health issues and relied heavily on her. Within months, Montgomery Taylor became ill and died. Dolly followed shortly after. Once again, deaths were attributed to natural causes. Velma inherited money and possessions. Shortly afterward, Velma moved in with another elderly woman, Lillian Bullard, who was also in poor health. Within weeks, Lillian died. This time, however, a doctor noticed something unusual. Symptoms reported before death did not align with the listed cause. Suspicion began to grow. The turning point came in 1978 when a man named Stuart Taylor, the son of Montgomery Taylor, insisted on an autopsy. The results were shocking. Lethal levels of arsenic were found in his father's body. Police reopened multiple cases connected to Velma Barfield. One by one, bodies were exhumed. The results were consistent. Arsenic poisoning. Again and again. Investigators discovered that Velma had been using rat poison, mixing it into food and drinks. It was tasteless, easy to conceal, and readily available. She used it to kill those who stood between her and money, drugs, or control. When police arrested Velma, she initially denied everything, but as evidence mounted, she began to confess. She admitted to killing Montgomery and Dolly Taylor. She admitted to killing her mother. She admitted to killing Jennings Barfield. She later confessed to killing her first husband as well. In total, Velma Barfield confessed to 6 murders. Investigators suspected there may have been more. During interrogations, Velma was calm, polite, and cooperative. She did not fit the public's image of a serial killer. She spoke softly. She cried. She prayed. She expressed remorse, but often framed her actions as the result of addiction rather than intent. Her trial in 1979 drew national attention. The media labeled her the death row granny, focusing on her grandmotherly appearance and quiet demeanor. The prosecution argued that her crimes were calculated and motivated by greed and addiction. The defense portrayed her as a battered woman shaped by abuse and dependency. The jury was not persuaded by the defense's arguments. Velma Barfield was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. She became the first woman in the United States to be executed since 1962. While on death row, Velma underwent a religious conversion. She became a born-again Christian, counseling fellow inmates and speaking openly about her crimes. Some believed her remorse was genuine. Others believed it was another form of manipulation. On November 2, 1984, Velma Barfield was executed by lethal injection in North Carolina. She was 52 years old. Her final words were calm and apologetic. She thanked prison staff and expressed regret for her actions. The legacy of Velma Barfield remains disturbing. She shattered stereotypes about what a serial killer looks like. She exploited trust, vulnerability, and compassion, and she demonstrated how addiction, when left untreated and unchecked, can spiral into unimaginable harm. Her case also led to major changes in how suspicious deaths are investigated, particularly involving caregivers and vulnerable populations. Autopsies became more common. Oversight improved. Patterns were taken more seriously. Velma Barfield was not a monster hiding in the shadows. She was a familiar face, a trusted helper, a grieving widow, and that is what made her crimes so terrifying. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for watching. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth true crime stories. Your support helps keep these stories alive and helps ensure the victims are never forgotten.